Navalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Ravanachari Ravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Bangum Langayate Girim Yatkrapa Tamahang Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namahum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sorry, this isn't working out the way I intended. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodata Gaudodai Pushpavantro Chaturshando Timonudo. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. When I was informed I was going to be speaking on Lord Nityananda's glories this morning, I was a little overwhelmed. And I became more overwhelmed on the plane as I tried to figure out what I would do this morning. I found myself swimming in that fathomless, limitless ocean, boundless ocean of nectar that is the 5th chapter of Adi Lila, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I don't think I had read it that deliberately for a while, and I thought, this is way too much, but what the heck? If I were to drown in the process of swimming here, what would be the loss? Wouldn't be a problem at all. So maybe touch on a couple of things. That chapter discusses these 5 verses from the 1st chapter of Adi Lila. This isn't PDF, so I can't do that. I have to struggle with my old eyes here. So these are texts 7 through 11. Sankarshana karanato yashayi garbhodhashayi chapayobdhishayi Sheshashta yashangsha kalasa nityanandakya rama sharanang mamastu. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshana, Sheshanag, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean and the ocean of milk, are his plenary portions and portions of his plenary portions. Maya tite vyapi vaikunta loke purnaishvarye Shri Chaturvyuham madhye Rupam yashodbhati sankarshanakyam Tang Shri Nityananda Ramam prapadye. I surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan in the midst of the Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. Maya bhartan janda sanghashayanga shete sakshakaranam bodhi madhye Yashyaikanksha Shri Pumanadi Devastang Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation called Karanadakashai Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all universes. Yasyang shasha shri la garbhodhashayi yanabhyajam loka sanghata nalam lokasrashtu sutika dhamma dhatus tang Shri Nityananda Ramam prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. Yashyam shashangsha paramatma kilanam poshta vishnur bhati dugdhabdhishayi kshauni bharta yat kalasopyanantas tang Shri Nityananda Ramam prapadye. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanaga is his further subpart. So chapter 5, for a long way, for many, many verses, is, well, it's an ocean of nectar. I think of it as thick with the seaweed of tattva, ontology. So what we see in these 5 verses is that Lord Nityananda Prabhu is the source of everything. He is the absolute truth. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in chapter 5, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj makes it really clear. He explains, first of all, that the origin of everything is Krishna, Krishna of Vrindavan. And his counter, how does he put it? His counter whole, I guess, in a sense. His first expansion is Balaram. And we know from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that the sense of being devoted to Krishna originates in Balaram. And then, from Balaram come the Chaturvyuha, Pradyumna, Niruddha, Sankarshan, and Vasudev. And then there's another Chaturvyuha. And from the Sankarshan of that second come all the Vishnus, the Purusha avatars. The Vishnus, in this sense, are expansions of the Lord for manifesting and dealing with the material world. So, from Sankarshan, who comes from Baladev, who comes from Krishna, then we have everything that we know and beyond, everything that we know and everything that we can't know about this material manifestation. And that begins with the Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu is lying and sleeping, and as he breathes out, countless universes emanate from the pores of his body. And when he breathes in, they wind back up in his body. That's what we think of as the whole material manifestation. Yes, Virginia, the multiverse is real. So, and in each of those universes, the Lord expands as the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who lies in the causal ocean, and from whose navel sprouts a lotus flower that bears Brahma, as Srila Prabhupada puts it, the engineer of the universe. And then the Lord further expands as the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who lies on the Shweta Dweep at the shore of the ocean of milk on Sheshanaga, and dwells in the heart of every entity. Sometimes we want to say every living entity, but Srila Prabhupada says in the heart of every atom. And this all comes from Balaram. And we hear from our acharyas, Brajendra Nandana Jay Sachisutta Hoilo say, Balarama Hoilo Nitai. That Lord Chaitanya is that self-same Braja Krishna, and that his elder brother, Balaram, manifests as Nityananda. Now, elder brother is an interesting phrase. First of all, the Absolute Truth has a brother. Yep. And he has a big brother, in fact. And he has a mommy and a daddy. This is how rich the conception of the Absolute Truth is in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This is how rich the Absolute Truth is, richly the Absolute Truth is presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So so many verses. I didn't even. I missed the count as I was reading yesterday. 100 some odd verses. So much tattva, so much ontology, so much whatness, thatness of Nityananda Ram. And then Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj ends the chapter with amazing lila that winds up in his personal account with his account of his personal encounter with Sri Nityananda Ram that resulted in his going to Vrindavan, associating with the Goswamis there, and ultimately under their instruction composing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's quite easy to get lost in all this. So much ontology, so much tattva, and it's so thick. And Srila Prabhupada's purports, I was just commenting to Shyam Murari last night when we were coming back from the airport, that some of those purports are books, because they're so long and there's so much packed in them that it's difficult to process. We could have a whole VIHE or MIHE course, one on the first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita to be sure, because there we are presented with Guru Tattva early on and more. But certainly we could have a course on the third chapter, a course on the fourth chapter, really have a course on the fifth and sixth chapters. And, well, the seventh chapter, Lord Chaitanya in 5 Features, which was released in paperback in 1973. I remember when that came out. Prabhupada just kind of released it, partly because there's so much there we need to understand. Some very clear refutation of impersonal philosophy. I remember when I lived with among some devotees in Kansas, near Lawrence, where the University of Kansas is. I think on Wednesday nights we would get together and read Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we were in chapter 7, and we were falling off our chairs, laughing at how strongly Srila Prabhupada came down on the Mayavadis, and we were just waiting for the word doomed to show up as we were going through one of those purports. It's just so wonderful. But the 5th chapter, we could certainly write a book about it. Somebody could. And we could certainly have a series of courses on that. There's so much there. But what I thought I would do is shift to Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Because in the 4th and 5th chapters of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, we see the first interactions between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And I remember back must have been the early 80s. I think it was the early into the mid 80s. Jayapataka Swami, on his way between India and Louisiana and then South America, he would stop in Hawaii and then on his way back. And I remember one evening, he gave a class where he recounted this meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And those of us who knew Jayapataka Maharaj, more than, 15, 20 years ago when he had his stroke, his classes were amazing. And Jayapataka Maharaj has had this huge, booming voice. And I'm not going to try. I was thinking I would try, but it's not. It would be unseemly. But when he got to the part where they actually met each other, he just boomed out, "Nitai! Nimai!" And the house was shaking. Our temple in Honolulu is kind of an old house. It's about 80. It's even older than I am. About 80. I think it's about 80 years old. No, a little over 80 years old. I think it was built in the early 40s. And it was, Jayapataka Maharaj's voice would make the house rattle. And it was just so wonderful. So I thought I would share this and see how far I can get before the hammer comes. Oh, where did I go? So I'll start with chapter 4, and I'm just going to read the English. All glories to Sri Gaurachandra, the life and soul of the entire universe. May your lotus feet be constantly fixed in my mind. As Vishwambar stood in front of Nityananda, Nityananda recognized his worshipable Lord. Nityananda became stunned in ecstasy as he stared at the beautiful form of Vishwambar. He appeared to be licking that beautiful form with his tongue, drinking it with his eyes, embracing it with his arms, and smelling it with his nose. In this way, Nityananda became stunned. He neither spoke nor did anything. Everyone there was astonished. Lord Gauranga, the life and soul of all, then devised some means of revealing the identity of Nityananda. The Lord indicated that Srivas should recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Understanding the Lord's gesture, Srivas Pandit immediately recited a verse in glorification of Krishna's characteristics. This is the Barhapidam Natavadavapu Karnayo Karnikaram verse. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue karnikarna flowers on his ears, and a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. As soon as Nityananda heard this verse, he fell unconscious on the ground. We see also when Pundarik Vidyanidhi came to Nadia, and Gadadhar Pandit's friend Mukunda told him, "Oh, there's a really cool devotee coming. You got to go hear from him." And so Gadadhar, very simple at heart. His life and soul was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a Brahmin to the core, just simple in his character, simple in the way he lived. And he saw Pundarik being carried in on a palanquin and sitting on this bed with big soft silk pillows, and he thought, what the heck? What kind of Vaishnava is this? And Mukunda kind of grokked his vibe, and he thought, So he chanted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Ahobhagyam verse, extolling the virtues of Krishna. And when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard this verse, he passed out. So then Gadadhar Pandit got the point, got the idea. Oh, I made a mistake. I was thinking ill things. So he ended up surrendering to Pundarik Vidyanidhi and taking mantra diksha from him. As Lord Nityananda lost consciousness in ecstasy, Gauranga instructed Srivas to continue reciting. Hearing the verses for some time, he regained his consciousness and began to cry. His madness increased as he heard the continual recitation of verses. He roared so loudly that the sound pierced the universe. He suddenly jumped in the air and fell forcefully to the ground. Whoops. Everyone there thought that his bones were smashed. What to speak of others, even the Vaishnavas were frightened. They prayed, "Oh Krishna, please protect him." As the Lord rolled on the ground, his entire body became wet with tears of love. He sighed deeply while looking at the face of Vishwambar. His heart was full of ecstasy, and he repeatedly laughed loudly. One moment he danced, one moment he bowed down, and one moment he clapped his hands, and one moment he jumped wonderfully with his feet together. Seeing his amazing ecstatic madness and love of Krishna, Gaurachandra and all the Vaishnavas began to cry. His happiness constantly increased. Although they tried to hold him, still they were unable. When all the Vaishnavas failed, to hold him still, Vishwambar personally took him in his arms. As soon as Nityananda was taken on Vishwambar's lap, he surrendered his life to the Lord and became motionless. Nityananda surrendered his life to whom it belonged and remained inert in the Lord's lap. Nityananda floated in the water of Chaitanya's love, just as Lakshman remained in the lap of Ramchandra after being hit by the Shakti Shila arrow. Nityananda lost consciousness due to being hit by the arrow of ecstatic love. Holding Nityananda on his lap, Gaurachandra began to cry. The exchange of happiness that the two enjoyed was similar to what is heard between Rama and Lakshman. There's no comparison to the affection between Gaurachandra and Nityananda other than that which is found between Rama and Lakshman. So, speaking of big brothers, Nityananda also appeared previous to Lord Chaitanya. We see from Chaitanya Charitamrita that whenever the Lord comes, first of all his associates come first. And they kind of like set the table, set the scene, set the stage for the Lord's pastimes. So Lord Nityananda appeared first. And Balaram is Krishna's elder brother. Previously, Balaram appeared as Lakshman, as younger brother. And we see this in chapter 5 of Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Lakshman very dutifully followed Lord Ramchandra everywhere. Whatever he did, whatever instruction he gave. But he was not happy about it. So we hear from our acharyas that Baladev had determined no more little brother stuff for me. This is not happening. From now on, I'm the older brother. Still, he's the servant, right? And so here we see Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And Lord Chaitanya, he's the shelter of Lord Nityananda, but he's also serving Lord Nityananda by cradling him. We see in the 5th chapter of Adi Lila that, there are so many wonderful pastimes between Lord, but even Krishna and Balaram, they would play like bulls and butt heads. There's all these wonderful things going on. After some time, Nityananda regained his external consciousness, and all the devotees chanted the name of Hari. When Gadadhar saw Nityananda on the lap of Vishwambar, he was surprised by the reversal of roles and smiled within. The pride of Ananta, who constantly holds Vishwambar, is smashed today while being held in the Lord's lap. So we also see in that 5th chapter of Madhya Lila, of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Nityananda, as Balaram, is Ananta Shesh, who is holding Lord Vishnu's body. But here, Mahaprabhu, Krishna, is holding Balaram's body. Gadadhar knows the glories of Nityananda, and Nityananda knows the mind of Gadadhar. While watching Nityananda, the minds of all the devotees became filled with eternal bliss. As Nityananda and Gaurachandra gazed at each other, they did not speak a word as tears flowed from their eyes. They were both filled with happiness on seeing each other. The earth became flooded with their tears. Vishwambar said, "Today is an auspicious day for me, for I have seen devotional service, which is the essence of the 4 Vedas. Are such shivering, such tears, such loud roaring possible for anyone other than one who is empowered by the Lord? Krishna will never forsake one who even directly sees, who even once directly sees such devotional service." I understand that you are the full power of Godhead. Only by worshiping you, a living entity, can a living entity attain devotional service to Krishna. You are able to purify the 14 worlds. Your confidential characteristics are inconceivable and unfathomable. Who is qualified to recognize you? For you are the personified wealth of loving devotion to Lord Krishna. If a person associates with you for even a moment, he will be delivered, even if he's committed millions of sinful activities. I have understood that Krishna will deliver me because he has given me your association. Out of great fortune, I have seen your lotus feet. Just by worshiping you, I will achieve the wealth of love for Krishna. Lord Gauranga was fully absorbed as he incessantly offered prayers to Nityananda. Nityananda and Chaitanya conversed with each other through signals and gestures that were unknown to others. When people are really close, sometimes they communicate. Sometimes not even with signals and gestures. Sometimes they just feel each other's hearts. The Lord said, "I'm afraid to ask, but from which direction have you come?" The greatly overwhelmed Nityananda displayed the mentality of a child. He spoke with the restlessness of a young boy. He understood, "This is my Lord who has descended." He folded his hands and humbly spoke. He was embarrassed on hearing the Lord glorify him. So he tactfully clarified the Lord's statements. Nityananda said, "I have visited many holy places and seen various sites connected with Lord Krishna. I could only see the place, but I could not see Krishna. Then I inquired from some responsible persons why all the thrones were covered. I asked them, 'Oh brothers, where has Krishna gone?' They said, 'Krishna has gone to go to Desh. He returned a few days ago from his visit to Gaya. I heard that in Nadia there is extensive congregational chanting of Lord Hari's glories. Someone said, Lord Narayana has taken birth there. I have also heard that sinful persons are delivered in Navadvip. Therefore, I, being most sinful, have come here.' The Lord said, 'We are all fortunate to have a great devotee like you among us. We consider that today our lives have become successful, for we have seen your flowing tears of love.'" So the next chapter is really wonderful. Somehow or other I was hoping that time would just kind of stretch out and we'd be able to get there, but alas, that's not the case. Because Lord Chaitanya instructed Lord Nityananda on their meeting that the next day was Vyasa Puja. This is a day that happens in the summer, usually July-ish, in which Lord Vyasadeva is worshipped by worshipping the spiritual master. And so Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda Prabhu that tomorrow we will do this at Srivas Thakur's house, and you will be the guest of honor. We will worship you. We will worship Vyasadeva in you. And this is quite appropriate because also we understand that Lord Nityananda is the Samasti Guru. He is the source of the Guru principle. He's the universal Guru. And that all our Vyasti Gurus, our individual Gurus, are manifestations of Lord Nityananda. So we've all been touched by the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Sometimes in very personal and profound ways. And that's something that can't be denied. That's something that can't be shaken. I just want to share one. This is something not, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says about his encounter with Lord Nityananda, not decent to share, not appropriate to share publicly, but to appropriately glorify Lord Nityananda, it must be. I had a doubt. I had literally a dark night of the soul. This was in maybe the fall of 1973. I had heard something that created a deep doubt in my heart about Srila Prabhupada, which I couldn't, it was difficult for me to process, impossible for me to deal with. And it was really interesting because it was a sort of an offhanded comment about something that someone had heard about Srila Prabhupada. Particulars aren't important. But somehow or other, even after having dedicated the previous practically 4 years of my life to Srila Prabhupada's service, and my then new wife and I, preparing to go to South America to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement there, all of a sudden I had this earthquake in my heart. And I just thought, I don't know what to do. Here I am living with this girl that I hardly know. What is the rest of my life? What have the last 4 years of my life been about? And I searched and searched for an answer, and there was no one for me to pray to. I couldn't pray even to Srila Prabhupada because the doubt was in him. Ultimately, I found myself with no one to pray to other than Lord Nityananda. Somehow or other, I still had unshakable faith in Lord Nityananda's mercy. And I think I stayed up all night and chanted and walked and cried and called out to Lord Nityananda to please give me some mercy. Please help me figure out what in the world this was all about. And finally, about 4 o'clock in the morning, exhausted, I just passed out. And when I woke up later in the morning, everything was resolved. I understood everything. I didn't have a big vision. There was no spurti. Lord Nityananda wasn't, swaying with bees buzzing around a garland or anything. He had just gone in and fixed my heart. And I thought, of course that's appropriate, because I come from New Navadvip, the original New Navadvip Dham, ladies and gentlemen. There seem to be other New Navadvip Dhams sprouting up here and there, one in Texas, one in China, and that's wonderful. But in the original New Navadvip Dham, our Ishta Devatas, our worshipable deities, are Sri Sri Pancha Tattva. And we are working our way up through the Vishnu Tattva. Last week, Sri Advaita Acharya's appearance, today Nityananda Prabhu's appearance, And then next month, oh, I'll be here again. I don't think I've been here for Gaura Purnima since 1973. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next month. So this is, I just thought, of course Lord Nityananda took care of me, because I was so desperate that I had no one other than him. How can someone, who is there to help someone so fallen that despite years of experience serving the lotus feet of his spiritual master, a little crack of a doubt opened up in his heart. And Lord Nityananda came and repaired that crack. And there's a Japanese art called kintsugi. This is the art of repairing broken ceramics, bowls, teacups, teapots. When they're broken, they're mended with a glue that's mixed with gold dust. And the broken pot becomes even more beautiful for having been broken. And I just thought, somehow or other, Lord Nityananda he's fixed my heart, and it's always simply going to belong to him and Srila Prabhupada. So this is the mercy of some goofy, neurotic kid from Lompoc, California. Somehow or other found himself in the association of devotees, and when there was a little doubt, Lord Nityananda came and fixed it. So we've all been touched by the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu as the Samasti Guru who manifests as our Vyasti Gurus. And so this is a big day for him. And although I'm not home today, I am home because Lord Nityananda Prabhu is here as well. Okay, I'll stop. Any discussion? Anyone have some Leela they want to share? There's so many. And they're all so relishable. I particularly like when he gets into it with Advaita Acharya. And whenever that happens in Chaitanya Bhagavat, that's one of those places. There are 4 places in Chaitanya Bhagavat where Vrindavan Das Thakur, such just Nityananda is his life and soul. Vrindavan Das Thakur warns us that whenever there's some disagreement between Vaishnavas, don't even think about taking sides. He says, you'll be ruined. But those pastimes are so relishable when Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, we see them in Chaitanya Bhagavat, we see them in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's this wonderful rasa between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. Brikupati Prabhu, agent of Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, thank you. Yes, the question was, because we didn't have the mic, Brikupati Prabhu says, okay, we're moved to appreciate Lord Nityananda Prabhu, but are we also moved to follow in his footsteps? And I was thinking yesterday, was it yesterday? I think I was giving class in Honolulu yesterday. And I was remembering how we used to go door to door, preaching door to door. We started this maybe in January, February of 1971. One day, we had heard that devotees were going door to door here on the mainland. And so we thought, let's try it out. So one Sunday, our temple president, Gaur Sundar, sent Trayodasi Sai, who later became Siddhaswarupananda, and me to the neighborhood, right, our immediate neighborhood, just to see what would happen. Because we thought, okay, if there's any test, it's going to be our neighbors who know about us and some of whom may not like us. So we had this program for quite a while, couple 3 years, going door to door. We had one of these Thomas Brother map books where we could keep track of every block that we covered, and we pretty much covered all of Honolulu and Kailua and Kaneohe and the little towns out, and then we even went out preaching door to door in the country on the North Shore to all the surfers and freaks. And wasn't always easy, wasn't always fun. And on the neighbor islands as well, I was recounting how we used to, we're talking about Varaha. I was talking about Varaha yesterday. And how the Lord said, yeah, I'm a resident of the jungle, but I've come to drive my tusks through hunting dogs like you, speaking to Hiranyaksha. And I was remembering the hunting dogs on the Big Island that people would keep to go up the mountain and hunt pigs. And they were like vicious pit bulls and mastiffs and sometimes they wouldn't be tied up. So we'd go up these long driveways in these homes in the country or on the edges of Hilo, and we'd have to test our speed out by trying to outrun the hunting dogs that would come after us. And Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur would also go out preaching door to door. And we know about how one day they encountered these two very fallen brahmanas, Jagai and Madhai. And Lord Haridas Thakur would complain sometimes that their encounters would be so hairy that sometimes Haridas would say, man, what are you, nuts? You're going to get us killed one of these days. And then eventually Nityananda Prabhu was attacked by Jagai and Madhai. So this has actually been a big part of our practice as well, ever since Srila Prabhupada's fledgling movement began to grow a little bit in the mid-60s. And we're the recipients of that. We're the beneficiaries of that, right? Either we got a book somewhere, or for me it was, I thought I was just going to a rock concert. I thought I was just going to go see Jimi Hendrix and Fat Mattress. And I ended up in beginning my life as a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So, as recipients of Lord Nityananda's mercy, we've also been deputed as his agents. And so however it is we can, we find ways to share that mercy. This is such a great wealth, we can't contain it. And we want more, but how do we really get more? By sharing it with others. There was a TV show in the 50s, maybe in early 60s, late 50s, called The Millionaire. Some dude would show up, Michael Anthony, I think, would show up on somebody's doorstep with an envelope that had a cashier's check, certified cashier's check for $1 million, tax-free, bestowed on that person by John Beresford Tipton III. Oh, God, I can't believe I still remember that. And in 22 minutes, you'd see that people's lives unraveling, falling apart, or flourishing, depending on what they did with that wealth that was suddenly bestowed on them. So we can actually increase our wealth of Lord Nityananda's mercy by, in whatever way we can, sharing it with others. So here we have astounding book distribution and other preaching programs going on. We've got Mantra House LA and all those different things. That Mantra House is being fed by the college programs, I understand. So yeah, whatever we can do. Today that we can kind of like renew our vow to serving Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's mission. Yes, Prabhu, please. And please, I'm deaf, and I forgot my hearing aids.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
you for your very nice class. In honor of Lord Nityananda's appearance day, I just wanted to mention, because people have been asking me, the book that was offered to Srila Prabhupada was the first ever Arabic Srimad Bhagavatam, and several devotees risked their lives to translate this in Lebanon and in Jordan. And you had mentioned about Leelas of Nityananda Prabhu. Do you know any Leela that Nityananda Prabhu was involved with when Lord Chaitanya dealt with the Chandkazi? Because I'd be interested to know that. In Mayapur, of course, Lord Nrsingadev was also involved with encouraging the Chandkazi to be favorable to the devotees. So I was just wondering if you knew any connection with Nityananda Prabhu in that regard.
I can't think of any. I'm drawing a blank. This may have been before Lord Nityananda. I'm guessing this is before Lord Nityananda came to Navadvip. I don't remember. Anyone? Brigupati? Why did Lord Chaitanya instruct Lord Nityananda to preach in Bengal? That's a big question. The easy answer is the Bengali people needed to be delivered. Sachitana.
In the meeting of Lord Chaitanya, that meeting with Nityananda Prabhu, it is mentioned, I think it's in the Bhagavad, in the Chaitanya Bhagavad.
Chaitanya Bhagavad, yeah.
It is mentioned that
third chapter.
He said, only one line, I want you to go and preach because there are certain things that you can do that I cannot do. And what it brought me to mind also was something, in relation to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada came to the West, and he's being the embodiment of mercy coming from Lord Nityananda. He also did the same thing. He's doing so many things that many other, with all respects to his God brothers, they weren't able to do, or he was meant to do, Srila Prabhupada. So it's like a semblance of that. But in the humility, of course, Lord Chaitanya can do anything. But he said to his brother, there's only certain things that you can do. Like, for example, Satyanarayan Prabhu, he's translating those books in Arabic language. Not many people would dare to do that. But under the order or the inspiration of Srila Prabhupada, now he's doing that. So,
yeah,
something that came to mind.
See who's intrepid enough to distribute those Bhagavatams in Saudi Arabia, Qatar.
When these wonderful Los Angeles book distributors and all over the world now, also Germany, France, and now Australia, when they distribute a book to a Muslim, it's so amazing to both parties, the distributor and the Arab, because no one gives them anything in Arabic. And some of the women wearing the hijabs, they start tearing up. So it's the opposite of what people think they're actually reaching out for the books. So it's a very glorious situation, and ultimately those books find their way back to Saudi Arabia and to Qatar and to Iraq because they take the books home with them. A lot of these Muslims are on tourist visas, and they're also on educational visas. They study in the universities. So they're so affected that, they don't throw them out. They bring them home and share them with their friends and family. And it's happened about 250,000 times so far.
Oh.
Since 2014.
Oh.
So, and that's all Prabhupada's mercy and Lord Nityananda and Chaitanya's mercy. Hare Krishna.
That, calling attention to Srila Prabhupada's position as a special agent of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All his godbrothers, they're very proper brahmanas, and they admitted, I've read a couple of places where a couple of them admitted that when they would read Lord Chaitanya's assertion that his name would be sung in every town and village, as many towns and villages as there are around the world, they thought, well, after all, this is poetry, and one of the ornaments of poetry is hyperbole. So every town and village, maybe a little bit much. Let's see if we can spread it in India. And Srila Prabhupada took it literally and seriously. And this is the result. So we see that. And I was just reflecting, as you said that, I was reflecting that when I was here in the fall, my friend Ashesha Gorahari, who's Iranian, took me to a Sufi gathering at the home of one Sufi Darvish. It was Friday night in Long Beach. And there were probably 12, 15 folks there. And this wasn't what you think of, this wasn't like a big kawal kind of a thing, with 3 people playing harmoniums and everybody singing all these kawalis and everything. But it was this one Darvish sharing his the teachings that he got from Rumi, and Ashesha was translating for me at the best he could simultaneously as he's singing these Rumi poems. And then later, the Darvish asked me, can you share something from your path with us? And do you see any commonalities between our paths? Now the Sufis, it's a mystical mystical strand of Islam. It's not like the so-called jihadis who are going around terrorizing people here and there because they're non-believers. But these are it's a very soft-hearted thread of Islam. And so we discussed, and I actually shared with them a couple of poems of Rumi poems that I particularly appreciate as being very reflective of the mood of bhakti. And I read these translations, and one of the people who spoke English shared it in. The people there were from Afghanistan and Iran, so I think they were maybe sharing it in Farsi because it's Rumi. And everyone, oh, that poem! And then she sang them back to me in Farsi, and it was just so wonderful. What does Srila Prabhupada say? One book, one God, one hymn. The Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the original non-sectarian religion. Okay, I've kept you all too long. Thank you all. Lord Nityananda Ram ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So if you'd like to stay